management of funds?
Oh man, it's very big, and I mean you can just see it in just how people don't even know what's in their account, or
Right.
um, they're asking, or they're coming in with checks from with loans that have 30% interest rates.
Gracious.
You know what I'm saying? That right there shows me that there is a cycle of debt that they can't get out of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
what led to that was previous habits. You know what I'm saying? From teenage, to college and till now. And so once you're in that place, it's kind of hard to get out of. If you come in there to get a loan, we're probably gonna deny you. So the next place that will give you a loan is somebody that's gonna give you a loan, a $500,000 loan with a 30% interest rate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, they should. Yeah.
And so
that should be illegal, man.
yeah, it's really behaviors, man. Like the way society paints it is instant gratification. I gotta have it now.
Right.
And people not understanding or not disciplined enough to separate needs from wants.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's all impulse. Like I know I can relate, because when I was in college, I was getting my paychecks. I wanted to get the latest kicks. I wanted to get the latest shoes. You know what I'm saying? Majority of my check, it would go straight to material things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
What made you change?
like not having any money to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like man,
Yeah, that's kind of.
I wanted to go places. I wanted to
Right.
And so I started to save, and I was staying with my parents,
Right.
and I started to build my savings up, and then at the time, my wife at the time, my girlfriend, she kind of like challenged me to keep track of my spending, and
Gotcha.
so I literally got a piece of paper, and I started to write down everything I was buying.
Right.
And as time went on, I could see like, man, I'm spending too much money in food. I need to scale back on that right there.
I feel you.
And that right there kind of helped me, monitor and then kind of build my budget off of that. You know what I'm saying? So these are things you have to do in order to, get out of debt. The fundamentals. The fundamentals. And the thing is, it's so easy, but it's difficult to put into practice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially when you've been living a certain way.
Oh yeah.
And then you kind of doing it as you go. You learn, because people learn as they go, and some people never learn. You have people, they getting wisdom from people who don't have anything.
Right.
And so sometimes it might sound good, but it ain't helping. Because if it was helping, it would be helping them. It'd be benefiting them. And so we just we get into the cycle of spending a certain way. Or, how we used to say, I know myself, I was like, y'all get it when I get it. You can't handle bills like that.
Right. Dad, that's crazy, man, because that was, one of the wake-up calls for me, too, was just that, like, man, I don't have any money. And if something doesn't change, then, like, this is going to be a bad life. And it's like the future just kind of came in and corrected the present, so to speak. And, I mean, I could definitely relate to that. And, what also, when you were saying, like, it's the norm, because I was, I'm still reading this book, and the book is The Millionaire Next Door. And one of the things that he kind of lays out in the book is, like, how wealthy should you be? Like, he kind of asked that question. Well, first he said, okay, wealth is obviously more important than income, like ownership. I don't know if y'all remember that Chris Rock joke when it was like, He was like, "What's the difference between wealthy and rich?" And then he said, Shaq is rich, but the man who signs checks, Shaq's check is wealthy. And pretty much, obviously, he was just talking about ownership. He was talking about some other stuff too, but ownership was the biggest thing there. And that guy's going to make money while he sleeps. But Shaq, obviously, at that time, his income is tied to his work. But what I was going to say though in the book though, he was basically talking about like wealth and assets, what you own minus your debts, which most people have. And the point he asked the question, how wealthy should you be? And then he comes up with his formula. He was like, listen, wealth is dependent on your age, and it's also dependent on your income. So it's a mixture of the two. And so the formula he lays out is take your age, multiply that by your income, divided by 10. That is what you should be worth. So an example is that if someone is 40 years old and they make $40,000 a year, you divide that by 10, their net worth should be $160,000. They should own that. Most of that is probably in a 401k or in the house, the equity for the most part. Times 2, that's average. Times 2, you are above average. Divided by 2, you are below average. So if you are $80,000 and below, you are below average at this particular point in your life. But if you times 2, you're above average. And so most people at that age, I was looking at this article by Chris Hogan. He works with Dave Ramsey. So pretty much he was saying that this was coming from the U.S. Census Bureau. And it was saying that people from 35 to 44, their net worth is $35,000. So like most people are below average. But the reason why it's so low is because most people have a major car loan and student loans. And so the average car loan is about $38,000. The average student loan is about $31,000. So that's $69,000 right there that someone else has. But if you add that plus the $35,000, that's at $104,000, which is an average. Okay, you're doing great at this point. But anyway, it was just cool hearing their experience there from the credit union, and then kind of seeing, okay, this is a problem. This is a problem.
It's definitely a problem. And so that's why I think it's just really the education and what you're saying you're trying to do.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
There's plenty of people out there that need that information, and that's why we suffer, because we don't have the education.
Right.
Our people perish for lack of knowledge.
Exactly.
What was that you asked me? Like I'm referring back to it because like that question, I guess I never heard it, and the response maybe.
Right.
Now I heard the question, but not the I guess the evaluation of it. So ask Mark.
Okay.
And then see what Mark's response would be.
Which question? About the black community?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the biggest problem?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, let me figure out how I was wording that. So, essentially, okay, what's the biggest problem in the African American community? Is it fatherlessness, or is it white supremacy that expresses itself in politics, economics, or maybe religion? So that's one side there, right? White supremacy expressed in all of these different areas, and the other side is really fatherlessness and black culture as a whole. Like, is there something about our culture, most people, particularly like hip hop, that is causing us from progressing? So those are different sides of the debate, and however you answer that question will put you on really a political or maybe economic spectrum. So that's what the question that P was referring to. That's just the basic, it's probably a little more complicated than that, but in general, that's the question.
Like how we're affected economically.
Yeah, what's causing our biggest problems? Is it internal or external, essentially? External referring to white supremacy, or internal referring to like particular aspects of black culture?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Both.
Right.
You know, because I mean, you got history, years and years of suppression.
Right.
And opportunities, pretty much, stolen from us. You know what I'm saying? And so, that right there has caused a wide gap in the economic aspect. Whether it be education, money, politics, those particular areas, having that opportunity, it wasn't open because of the supremacy, of the white race. So, and then within, I think it's because material things is what a lot of us focus on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the latest, outfit, or, we have to be a part of the biggest trend. I mean, you see it all through college.
Right.
In the black African American college, African American university, you see it, man.
Is that you went to HBCU?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to A&T and Central.
Okay.
A&T and Central.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, man.
Right.
And it's like now. Now I admit, I like nice things. I mean,
Right.
I think a lot of people like nice things.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I think there's such thing as balance, contentment. You know what I'm saying? Moderation.
Yeah.
But I can relate as far as being in the mental space where I have to be in that trend, and my money is being poured into that trend, and so I think it's both sides. Systemic racism, and then us more focused on the materialistic side, like getting credit cards but not understanding interest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then what you were saying about fatherhood too. Like men not having, boys not having a father figure.
Yeah.
Someone that can actually lead and show them how to, display themselves in settings in a proper way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if that's not continuously passed down, if our men are in prison, then that leaves the woman to do what the man's job is supposed to be, and that whole and God didn't create it to be like that.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when that's off key, the foundation of the home is just
It's destroyed. Yeah.
And so
Definitely.
like you looking at, man, threefold, fourfold, things that are affecting our culture, man.
Mm.
And so how do you get out of that? How do you, as a community, stick together to build each other up in businesses, so we can progress? I mean, because I don't understand why it's always like an envy attitude towards each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know why that is necessarily.
Which part? The envy part?
Yeah.
Right.
It got to be something passed down
Mhm.
from somewhere. I want to say slavery, but yeah, it could be.
Yeah. But you see some form of community being built pre-civil rights when you think about Black Wall Street.
Oh yeah.
So that makes me not say slavery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I wouldn't be able to follow their history that closely.
I want to say this. I know what you're saying.
Right.
I know this thing is probably gonna stop.
I want to say I'll top 4 minutes.
Battery.
No, just the cycle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but when I say slavery, I mean it started in slavery.
I see.
And so then, after there was like, being kind of forced to deal with each other.
Yeah.
And work together. So, and also knowing, man, you've been through this, we've been through this together, and so let's come together and rebuild. And I think there was like a rebuilding where, you did have people get married, the families built, and everything else. But then, then there was a time when, white women said, well, we're equal to men, and so we need our rights too. And so then it shifted. A lot of times it's shifting, where the woman wants to be the head of the house, and she want to do her thing. And
that's what messed up the whole thing.
That's on top of being in America where the black man is the criminal. Right. We're gonna lock him up. We might not have slavery, but we're gonna make slavery as an option under another name where you go to prison. So now we can get to lock you up for being out at a certain time, or we'll kill you, we'll lynch you. So there still have been a stripping away of the black man from the home.
Right.
Whether, like I said, it started in slavery, but even post-slavery, where there is a kind of integration now. Okay, y'all kind of human now, so we had let you have this, but there's still a criminalization around the black man where they try to they take them out of the home somehow. They make them gay. I know y'all don't hear that. They make them gay somehow. They put them in jail or they kill them.
Right.
And so that's what I think.
Gotcha. Now on that point though, right? So let me ask you this. So if you had to put a percentage, right? Would you say that if the man is restored, then will a lot of the problems correct itself?
If the man is restored,
yeah.
Restored how? Like, because when you say restored, I'm thinking yes,
gotcha.
But there has to be like a generation
of that
happening.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Because what's been going on is a snowball effect.
Right.
And so, like you said, the money issue, that's something that's going on continuously. And the way that Jamal and Sherry raise their kids, and they're teaching them bad money habits. And then their kids is going to teach their kids. And so there might be a break in that where they get educated and know how to handle money.
Right.
But what about the other 12 people in the community? How they've been raising their kids? And so there has to be a generation of that. It has to be something that we have to start teaching our kids to do, and to where they see this structure of how the home's supposed to be.
Right.
Where that man is restored. You know what I'm saying? So.
But I tend to think that hip hop has more of an influence on young men than
any other
thing.
Parents and everything.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And so I think a lot of times what people don't critique is hip hop.